Good Thursday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Browns getting ready to host the New England Patriots Sunday, 1 o'clock over at First Energy Stadium. A game the Browns need to get back to 500 at 3-3 out in Berea. Some guys getting days of rest. Myles Garrett didn't practice. It was a day of rest. We later found out. Jadeveon Clowney, ankle, knee, and elbow. Denzel Ward still in the concussion protocol. So that is a guy that it will be interesting to monitor to see if he is available. NFL is getting a lot more stringent with concussion protocols the last couple of weeks. Jack Conklin resting. Ronnie Harrison with illness after missing Wednesday as well. A minor roster move. Browns have signed cornerback Thomas Graham to the practice squad and have released defensive tackle David Moore. With that, let's welcome in Quincy Carrier to the show. Quincy, let's get right at the no sense in messing around. Let's take a look at some of the defense, and this is from Quincy's show. Let's take a look at big plays, the first couple of them, and man, the choices that guy has, that's just, I don't know what to say. That can't happen. You know, great effort running him down 40 yards downfield, but man, the second.
This the welcome to Walmart defense, man. Just come on in. What you want? Come and get it.
Couple of spaces and a lot of greeters and nobody doing anything.
Two entries, no security. It's what it is. You know what I mean?
When you look at it 2 weeks in a row, you know, I was concerned because the defensive tackles were young and not that big run-stopping guy. The linebackers, other than Anthony Walker, probably a little undersized. And now those concerns are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've been concerned about this, right? Like, I felt like Chicken Little the last 2 years, where I'm like, okay, these are some duct tape solutions they've been using for D-tackle ever since they got rid of Sheldon Richardson. We got to get a more permanent solution, and then the guys that they've been drafting have not been good, right? We've talked about Jordan Elliott not being good for quite a while here. We've talked about Tommy Togiai not really being up to snuff, and this is kind of a result, right? Once you ran out of those duct tape solutions, you're left with what you have prepared for. And look, they did draft guys. They just weren't good. You know, they have 3 draft picks on this line right now. They drafted guys. They just did not work out. That process needs to change so you don't have this repeat of failure in the next draft. But yeah, that's the situation. Defensive tackle play is bad. When the defensive tackle play is all right, and sometimes it is in a given play, linebackers are wherever they need to be, aren't wherever they need to be, and it's just a mess, right? It's a whack-a-mole situation, right? We just got the secondary fixed. Stop giving up all those big plays. We finally patched that hole, and boom, run game pops wide open, right? Like, it's like one thing after another with this defense, and it's just been problem after problem.
All right, and a big problem against the Chargers was missed tackles. So let's take missed tackles, and I guess you could say missed tackles and misalignment. Let's take a look at that. Again, there's Eckler, and there's one guy.
It's a linebacker.
Yeah.
It's Taki. It's your best run defender.
Yeah, and then this one's pretty bad,
Johnson,
too.
Bad angle.
Yeah.
Bad angle by MJ.
Yeah, and then this one's really bad. I
just got juked in the box there, but that one's just, you can't explain that.
So, again, you know, that was somewhat the case against the Falcons, but even more the case. And, you know, the reason I bring this up, the New England Patriots, they're gonna continue to run and be they're much more physical than either of the two teams that just ran all over you.
Yeah, they're pretty much just as physical as anybody else in the league. So, I mean, like, this is the week. If you got to fix your tackle problems, fix them. But one thing that I'm worried about is it looks like their angles are just terrible on these tackles. Like, there is something wrong here with whatever these guys are thinking when they're playing, because, like, it seems, I don't want to say lazy, but it seems kind of lackadaisical, the approach to some of these plays, and I think they're getting caught being lazy with their feet, and that's causing them to have these bad angles, which is causing them to miss tackles. And it's an intensity thing, right? It's a mindset thing. You got to want to make the tackle. You have to be on top of it. This defense has had mind, like we've seen this defense have mind. They just forget things all the time, and it's just weird.
All right, so Greg Newsome talked about getting things turned around for this defense today.
When we have the talent that we have on the defense, it's frustrating when you're not putting it, to show so the world can see it every Sunday. So it definitely is frustrating, obviously, especially coming from last year where I feel like we ended the season on a high note to now not playing so well right now. But we're just going to work every day at practice, get better, and, try to put our, best foot forward on Sunday. Just because we have a great group of guys who never give up. Regardless if, we had a bad series or, a bad half, like we're never going to give up. We still have the same energy out there every day in practice. We're hustling to the ball, working as hard as we can. So I just know the group of guys that we have on the defense, and there's no difference, I would say, from last year. So I think that we definitely could turn this thing around.
Well, and Quincy, the one thing I would say is they seem to be very reactive defensively. Late in the year, they were kind of dictating some things to an offense. I haven't seen that at all in the first 5 games. They are not dictating anything defensively.
Well, this is because of the issues that they had earlier, right? And this is what I mean, where I think these problems are stacking up on top of each other, because what's happening here is they have to patch together so many different solutions to fix so many problems that they're crashing in on top of each other, right? It's like trying to work through an injury when you're not healthy enough to work through an injury. You're just going to injure more parts of your body. And defensively, first they got to work through the communication issues, right? We saw the broken play, the busted coverages, the first 2 weeks of the season, unacceptable. You lose a game to the Jets because of it. Okay, how do we fix that? We're going to play more man. Okay, we play more man. That fixes the busted coverage thing. But when you play man, you are susceptible to misdirection, right? And then that's what's been killing them in the run game. Now they're playing more man. They're susceptible to this run game. And the thing that is the problem for the Browns right now is they can't play their defense because they're not sound enough for whatever reason to play their defense they've been in for 3 years. Last year, at the end of the year, they were able to play their defense, which meant they were dictating terms to the offense. This year, they had the catastrophic meltdowns with communication. That took them out their defense. Now they have to play man more. Now they're out of it, and now they're just kind of trying to keep up. And that's what set them back, right? One issue leads into another, and then the next solution probably going to lead into another problem.
Joe Woods, defensive coordinator, trying to figure things out, talked about the talent that exists on this defense.
It's frustrating. I would say I'm, disappointing at times, but not discouraged. I do believe we have the talent to be a top 5 defense. I mean, I've said that from the start. It's my job to get us there. We're addressing issues. We're trying to fix it. Part of it's fundamentals. Part of it's scheme. Part of it's just guys doing their job. So it's a little bit of everything. We all have to get on the same page, give them a good plan, and then we got to go out on Sunday, most importantly, and execute. Believe in it and execute. Yes, for sure. You always want to find ways to activate your playmakers. Guys that you feel like can win the one-on-one, guys that can blitz, guys you feel like can win in coverage. So it's always part of the scheme. Again, we talked about it. We added some things to the scheme this offseason, but like right now, it's just let's get things settled down. Let's play clean, fundamental football. We'll still have things to get guys home and create matchups that we want, but right now, just not doing it a lot.
All right, Quincy, I know you've addressed this on your show. How much of the Browns' defensive problems are on Joe Woods?
The thing is, it don't even matter how much of it is on Joe Woods at this point, right? Somebody's going to have to go if this continues. That's the reality of it. That's how this works in the NFL. So, and Joe Woods is the guy that can go. Myles Garrett ain't going nowhere. Denzel Ward ain't going nowhere. They got like $230 million combined between the both of them. So if somebody needs to go, it's probably going to be the coach. And how much of the defensive problems are Joe Woods? I would say it's probably a good amount of those problems are on the defensive coordinator, because ultimately he is responsible for this unit. And I can say, hey, the reason they're not good is because they're not in their defense, but the reason they're not in their defense is because something went wrong in the third year of this defense, that they cannot communicate effectively to play the plays that they've been playing for the last 2 years. I don't know how that happens, right? But this has happened every year. These things keep popping up with Joe Woods' defenses. They're never consistent for the whole year. We always have these communication conversations. You know, I'm not saying the whole problem is him. A lot of this is your players just aren't playing well. The good players that you have, I mean, Miles is playing well, Jadavion's playing well, but JOK, he has not been what he has been in years past. I would even say that Denzel Ward has been a shell of himself the last few games. Well, outside of the last few games, he's really not been good. And you just haven't been getting the performances that you want out of your safeties either. So, yeah, a lot of this is a lot of talented players are very much underperforming. But some of the underperforming is because they're not put in positions that excite them as players. And ultimately, it's up to the defensive coordinator to be able to put players in positions that motivate them and excite them so you can get the best out of them, because you have to play with what you have on your roster. And right now, I see an unmotivated defense.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in the way of, oh, he's got to go and yell at him and give him a speech. I'm saying you got to put guys in position or in a position that you know excites them with plays that you know that they like to go to, because that's how you get guys going in the NFL.
Yeah, and play to their strengths. I don't think they're playing to the strengths of the defense right now. So we'll see. They got to figure it out in a hurry. The competition is getting better, and the games are getting more and more important. So we're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we will continue talking Browns. We're going to continue talking defense. Quincy Carrier and I will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Quincy Carrier. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. I've got a question. Would you consider trading Denzel Ward this season, possibly acquire a defensive tackle or maybe another receiver? Even though we all love Ward, and he's from Ohio and he's played at a great clip throughout his career, in my honest opinion, I think we could afford to trade him this season. I just want to know your thoughts. Thank you. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Want to remind you, call the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Leave your prediction for the New England Patriots game. Want to know who you think is going to win, the score, and some key stats. Quincy, relative to trading Denzel Ward, that's not going to happen. First of all, nobody's going to have enough money under the cap this year to do it. Second of all, you don't trade cornerbacks like that. Having said that, I think they need to upgrade the defensive tackles. Wouldn't mind another wide receiver, but so far the wide receiver play has been okay. Your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, like trade conversations in the NFL are kind of futile because they just don't happen mid-season for good reasons. Kind of just not how these things operate. And then also, yeah, there's the money factor that goes in with Denzel Ward. Also, look, this is a front office that has showed that they don't really value the defensive tackle position. I would be concerned if they made a move like that. That would be an absolute, you abandon all of your fundamentals and your process just because you're panicking. And that would be more concerning to me than anything, because that would tell me that it's like Jimmy Haslam, like some kind of like ownership meddling or some kind of dysfunction that we've dealt with before. So I just don't think that's a good idea. You don't trade players like Denzel Ward on a team that's trying to win. And honestly, remember how hard it was to convince this team that they were still trying to win when they cut Odell last year? Imagine trying to do that when you just traded Denzel Ward, telling your defense, oh, no, we're trying to get better. We just traded one of its best players. It's not going to fly.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We talked a little bit last segment just about the pressure being on Joe Woods. The pressure because the defense isn't performing the way everybody expected it to. Here's what Joe Woods said about that.
I'm just telling the truth. That's just, I don't worry about it. Like, I know it's a problem. And to me in the NFL, it's fair. The NFL is fair. You have an opportunity. I feel like the organization provide us with good players on defense at all three levels. Right now, we're not performing well. There's stretches where we're doing good things, but we're not consistently playing well for 60 minutes. And it just comes with the territory. You know what I mean? But for me, having red eyes is about this studying. I'm always like that. I've always been like that for 31 years coaching. But in terms of worrying about that, you can't, because if you worry about it, then it affects your decision making. It affects your thought process. So I just put my head down and say, how can we get better?
And again, Quincy, if they knew how to get better, they'd be getting better. It's not like
if there was like a magic answer, like they would apply it. And Joe Woods does not want this defense to stink. Like nobody wants the defense to stink. The problem is, not a lot of good answers out there, right? Like they're trading for Deion Jones. They're trying to find something that can like be a little bit of a fix, but they don't feel like there's a lot of great solutions out there. So, yeah, I mean, like I understand what he's saying. You can't really coach to the pressure. Again, that's why I said about the front office. You can't just trade for Denzel Ward because people want you to get a defensive tackle right now. That would be ridiculous, short-sighted. Same thing with Joe Woods. You can't be concerned to the point of losing your job that you're going to like do something drastic, like start zero blitzing when it ain't even in your defense. You got to play your game. You got to do what brought you to the dance. Whether people like it or not, you still got to be who you are at the end of the day. And you can't just make panic decisions, because that's what happens with like a Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, where he's out here, oh, I'm going to go for it on this down, but then everybody got mad at me, so I hired a coach, and now I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to go for it. It's like, that's a mess. I'd rather have consistency, even if it's consistency that I don't appreciate all the time, versus having somebody who's just making decisions because whoever is mad at him at the time said last. Like, that would be true dysfunction.
All right. I know you've addressed this on your show. Again, search Quincy Carrier YouTube show. Break down the trade for Deion Jones. What are the Browns getting? Can he help? Can he help immediately?
What's going to be tough to help immediately at Mike linebacker? Like, I don't know how much of that position he can just take in, because he's got to relay the calls. He's been here 3 days. Like, he's not at that position to relay all the calls to everybody. But if this is about taking Jacob Phillips off the field, again, then we bring up a very important question. Well, who's going to be bringing in the play call if we're trying to take Jacob Phillips off the field and Deion Jones is the replacement, and Deion Jones just got to town on Tuesday? Who is it? Like, is it going to be John Johnson? Are we going to have the safety call plays? That's one of the things I worry about. But I think the move ultimately for Deion Jones was we need an adult in the room, right? Anthony Walker was the adult in the linebacker room, right? When everything went down, everybody knew, look at Anthony. Anthony going to tell you where to go. Anthony going to tell you where you need to be at. And Anthony going to be where you got to be at. And that helped everybody else play off of him. They didn't have an adult in the room for the last 2 weeks, and we have seen what that result has been. That's where youth shows up. So I think this is what Deion Jones is about. This is why they're bringing him in. It's funny that we're using this term again. It's in a completely different context. I'm not saying that the linebackers are irresponsible or have been accused of being bad teammates. Like, Other people have been accused of not being the adult in the room, but that's what they need. They need the adult in the room right now. Deion Jones is a veteran player. He's been a captain. He's been a green dot. He's been a good player, an all-pro player in this league. He's an adult in the room. Whether he's his former self or not, I think people have been having that conversation. I think that's irrelevant. He just needs to be serviceable, functional, and just a reliable veteran. That's all I need. You know, they just need an adult in the room right now.
Well, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah talked about what he has seen in the 2 days that he has dealt with Deion Jones.
Similar to Awalka, you know, he's a veteran. He's been around the game for a long time, been at the highest level, you know, in the Super Bowl, and he's able to give us some feedback on the things that we may do that's not necessarily correct as linebackers, whether it's technique or whether it's scheme. He's learning the scheme pretty fast. So yeah, I mean, that's what he brings to the table. He's an elusive player, fast player, but also has a lot of strength to him and is able to use his understanding and his knowledge of the game to propel himself. So, yeah.
And again, that's you've got Phillips and you've got Owusu-Koramoah, both young guys, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, that desperately needed it, right? I mean, like, this is a very young room. Last year they had Malcolm Smith on top of Anthony Walker all year, right? So they had that veteran presence at two of the linebacking positions. This year they tried to go with younger guys, and the youth is showing up. And hopefully that pays off in the long run, but right now it's definitely showing up and it's definitely hurting them. So again, I think that's what Deion Jones is here for. He might not be all pro anymore. He might not be the biggest playmaker anymore. I could care less. Can he be the adult in the room? Just be where you're supposed to be. That would be a huge difference for this defense, and I think that would settle some things down. They're not going to be a great defense. Don't quote me for saying that. They're not going to be a great defense, but they're not going to be a disaster. And if they're not a disaster, we probably are 5-0. So that's all we need the defense to do, right? If we just don't count the disasters or the games where it just got disastrous at some point with the defense, this team is 5-0. That's all three of the losses: the Jets, the Atlanta Falcons, and then last week. It was a disaster. If they just don't be a disaster, if they just can stop being a disaster, which this is hopefully a move that can help that, they will be a winning football team. They would be one of the best teams in football right now, but they need that presence right now, and they need a lot more.
Quincy Carrier and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out of the break. We'll talk a little bit about the offense. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. We want you to call the voicemail of Truth and Reason with your predictions for the Patriots game. We want to know the score, who's going to win, some key stats. We'll use them tomorrow on the show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, just want to leave a comment. Actually, just leave my opinion, to be honest with you. So, in my opinion, the Browns fans, I'm a big Browns fan myself, but we're all quick to treat every game like it's the Super Bowl and like it's the only game that matters. If we don't win this week or next week or last week, then it's fire this person, bench that person, trade this person, fire that person. My thing is this. Barry and Stefanski on their third year, credit, we should be a little bit better. But they're still putting their team together. You know, like they're still waiting to get their quarterback. When they came in, they inherited Baker. They gave him 2 years, and they moved on. Year 3, they get Watson. It's going to be a small sample size. But wait till next year. I think things will be different. And I think that, you know, things will change in Cleveland. I just feel like give them a chance to get their players and their personnel. And if I had to say one thing that I, probably dislike, I just think that it's time for Kevin Stefanski to hand over the play calling duties and just focus on being the head coach. I mean, Alex Van Pelt, he's a good coach. He didn't get that job for no reason. Utilize his talents. But that's just my opinion from one Browns fan to the rest. Go Browns. Woof, woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Quincy, I can't argue with a lot of what he said, but you're going to have a year. This year is counting as a year of Deshaun Watson's contract. So that's why you're trying to figure out any way you can get to 6-5, 7-4. You might be able to live with 5-6 when Watson gets back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has less to do with Watson's contract and more to do with just like it's another year in the NFL. You don't want to just punt these, right? You want to make sure you give yourself the best chance possible to win as many games as possible, and that would be to put yourself in a good enough position right now. What's frustrating with this team is, I mean, we talk about 5 to 6 wins would be enough. They could have it all right now. They really could, but unfortunately they have 2. You know, it's right there in front of them. This team is good enough. And this is why I think Browns fans are not used to and why we react in the ways that we react, right? We're used to our team being so bad that an opportunity to win a game is precious. Like, I remember those days where it's like we might only have 7 opportunities to win a football game this year. This team is not that. They're going to have an opportunity to win almost every game they play. Maybe Buffalo's a game they can't win, but like every other, without Watson, they can't win. But every other game they play in their schedule, they're going to have a more than a puncher's chance to win. Like, they're a good team, so we can't live and die as much with every win because every game is almost an opportunity for this team to win a game. Not from like a cliche standpoint, but from like you actually stand a chance talent-wise. So I think that's why Browns fans tend to react like that. And as far as like, yeah, it's year 3 with Barry and Stefanski, I think it's also important to remember, like, we're at this point to where we feel like we can play and beat anybody that we play against. Think about the conversations we are having in week 6 right now versus conversations we had in week 6 before the Stefanski and Barry era, right? These were much more dire conversations that we were having at this point. So things have changed. It's hard to understand what that change has been when you're living in it in the moment. And I think it's tough to appreciate these things, but I mean, last year was as bad as a year as they can get. They were about 500. This year, they're not going to dip below 500 for the whole year, more than likely. They'll probably be at like 8, 9 to 10 games. So, this is just it's a different type of season than we're used to, and it's a different type of frustration that we're used to, right? We're usually used to we're being terrible and there's nothing we can do about it, or we're like fluky good. But this is different. We're just kind of we're pretty decent right now, and we were waiting for the piece that will put this team from pretty decent to good, really good.
All right, so I know you've addressed this on your show, and I have brought it up last week and this week. So, should Russell Wilson have Browns fans worried about what Deshaun Watson is going to look like when he's able to play for the Browns? Because Russell Wilson does not look like a quarterback that you want leading your NFL football team right now.
Yeah, Russ has been bad. Russ isn't Russ anymore. He can't do some of those things that makes him Russ. And I think the problem with Russ right now is he still thinks he Russ, right? And that was the problem in Seattle, right? What was it? Pete Carroll wanted to make him run different plays to work with his limitations as he saw them coming. And Russ felt like he was being handcuffed because he still think he's 2016 Russ. He's not that anymore, right? There's a lot of drives. There's like 2 drives a game he gives you in Denver now where he's Russ Wilson, like the old school, that's Russ. every other drive is Russell Wilson, and that's a different dude, right? That's a guy that's not as dynamic, who might make an interception, might be late on a throw. He's a different quarterback. He needs to learn to adjust to him not being who he was anymore in his prime, and then he might be okay. This happened with Drew Brees. This happened with Tom Brady. The last few years he was in New England, where he had that frustration. This even happened with Aaron Rodgers before Matt LaFleur got there. So this thing happens with the quarterback at this age. We'll see if he comes out of it the other side, right? Sometimes you end up like Cam Newton, out the league. Sometimes, you end up just fine. But that's where he's at. He's at that crossroads. Deshaun Watson is 27 years old. He's not at that crossroads yet. What we're talking about with Russ isn't him learning a new offense. He's been in that offense for like 6 months. This is not about him learning a new offense or being rusty. This is about him being old. Deshaun Watson is not old. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Now, again, this is unprecedented. We've never seen a quarterback come back in this kind of a situation after 700 days being missed. But we have seen football players come back and play well after missing 700 or 600, close to 600 to 700 days. Trent Williams is a great example of that when he quit basically while under contract the Washington football team and then forced his way on to the San Francisco 49ers. There's about a similar passage of time between start to start. And he ended up being not just fine, better than ever because he was in a better situation for himself. My point is that we have no idea what Deshaun's going to look like, but odds tell you that good football players look like good football players when they play football, right? Them being away for a little while doesn't change the fact that they were good football players, right? Deshaun's not going to be a different quarterback just because he hasn't been there. I know people are freaking out about the preseason game. I contend this. If he played a half in that preseason game, we would have been just okay with what he would have produced in that game. He had 2 bad drives. We have seen every quarterback in the NFL this year have 2 bad drives. That does not mean that he's so incredibly rusty that he's not going to be able to play well. And I think he's going to be all right. He's going to be able to practice. I think, we'll be pretty comfortable about this more than likely by like the 3rd quarter or the 4th quarter of the Houston game.
All right. Let's listen to what Bill Belichick had to say about the Browns or running back Nick Chubb.
As I said, they're very well coached. Callahan does a tremendous job with the offensive line. Their fundamentals are good. Their schemes are good. They create opportunities for the backs, and then the backs, specifically Chubb, does a lot on his own. He's very hard to tackle. He's got tremendous contact balance, plane strength, good vision, good patience. He really sets up his blocks well. He gets the most out of every block, and then he's very hard to get on the ground. Plays with a good ball security, and as that explosive plays, gets a lot of tough yards, gets a lot of consistent yards. He's really good, and he's got a good group in front of him, and they absolutely know what they're doing. They handle defensive challenges as well as anybody, stunts, alignments, blitzes. I mean, they waxed us pretty good last year, especially early in the game. So, like I said, we got to work it out for us.
And that means they're going to try to take Nick Chubb away. And I don't know what game he keeps referring to that. The Browns had their way with him early in the game. I don't know what game Coach Belichick was watching because I didn't see that.
I think in his mind he's thinking about Nick Chubb and the Browns' run game. Nick Chubb didn't play last year, so I think in his mind he's going back to the last time we played Nick Chubb. That was 2019. Nick Chubb did have like that 70-yard run where he fumbled it in that game. And I think that's what he's referring to. Honest to God, I think that's because he can't be referring to when we gave up 45 unanswered versus McCorkle Jones. Like, that can't be what he's referring to. So I think that's that. But, yeah, this is going to be interesting because Nick Chubb did not play in that game last year where they did get the beat down on us. And I think that's going to make a difference, right? Nick Chubb being out there, he usually does well against edges like Matt Judon. I think he has like 5 yards per carry personally on Matt Judon himself because Matt kind of takes the inside and he's a strong dude, but you can get him pinned in. So, yeah, that's going to be the game plan. Look, but this is no different than every other team that plays us for the last 4 years, right? The game plan has always been to take away Nick Chubb. I don't know who ever went into a game plan playing the Cleveland Browns since Nick Chubb's been on the team and was a starter and said, hey, man, we going to take away the quarterback. That's never happened while Nick Chubb was the starter of this team. It's always been, we got to take away Nick Chubb. So the good news is this offense is built to handle that stress. This is not something that's going to shake them up, where it's like, hey, they're going to stack the box and stop Nick Chubb. Ooh, man, that's what we've been dealing with every year, right? Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield, same thing, right? Nobody is emptying out the box because they're so worried about this passing attack. It's always been when you play the Cleveland Browns, what are you going to do to stop Nick Chubb? And to Nick Chubb's credit, he has been better than any solution for him, especially this year. There has been no solution. When Mike Tomlin didn't hold him under 100 yards, which Mike Tomlin always does do stuff to Nick Chubb that like nobody else does for whatever reason, that's when I was like, okay, this is different, because that's a barrier they haven't broke before. So yeah, that's going to be their plan. And I say this every week whenever I talk to people who cover other teams about, Nick Chubb. Everybody's plan is to stop Nick Chubb. But his numbers are his numbers, right? Like, his numbers are the result of that game plan. So don't just think just because that's your plan, it's going to work because he's Nick Chubb. Like, everybody trying to stop him. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, they're going to try to take him away. It's the Browns' job to make that impossible.
Quincy, Carey, and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll turn our attention more to the Patriots game. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Ron Cordet from down here in Clayton, Ohio. Browns fan my whole life and love your guys' show. What I called about was I'd like to pass something on to Cade York, which might help him with his kicking here. And the thing I've thought about is, has he ever thought of becoming an opera singer? Just a thought. Go Browns, beat them Patriots this week. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, Quincy, not sure where he's going with that one. An opera singer.
What just happened?
Opera singer.
What? Is that a reference I'm too young for?
I don't know. I'm older than you, and I got nothing.
I like the confidence that he felt like, I'm going to just drop that in there and explain nothing. Like, to him, it was in there, and we missing it. So, shout out to you, caller, because I certainly would not have the confidence to say that joke and, just leave it there with no what is the opera singer?
Out there all alone,
is
maybe?
He suggesting he should not kick?
I got nothing.
And he should sing opera?
I got nothing.
All right, the Fat Lady Sings reference? I don't know.
Here you go. This one you will like. So, Bill Belichick, his son Steve is on the defensive coaching staff. Take a listen to this.
A lot of different weapons. Like I said, they're an efficient offense. They stay on track really well. They don't really go backwards much. They're always moving the ball forward. So
their fundamentals and techniques are very good. We had trouble with them last year. Everybody has trouble with them. A lot of talent up front.
They sound exact. I heard Stephen Belichick speak, and I was like, he sounded exactly like that. Yeah, I didn't dub Bill's.
I promise you, he does not talk like that outside of those press conferences. I bet you this is a bit with the rest of the coaches. Like, I'm going to go up there and he probably started talking like his dad one day. Because you grow up under Bill Belichick, you probably, you do the voice, and, you know how to talk like him. And he's like, I'm going to make them think I sound just like him. No man with a mullet talks like that. That man has partied too much. Hey, what, you think he's at the party? You guys want to hand me a beer? No, absolutely not. I refuse to believe
You're not buying that.
Steve is running an elaborate. This is a hoax. He is running an elaborate hoax on us. No way. He actually sounds like that.
I actually had to play more of it to just see. And if he's playing it, he stood in it for the entire 5-6 minutes that he spoke. So.
I mean, he's still Bill Kidd. He got that discipline. You know what I mean? But I'm just, there's no way.
All right, things we should know about the Patriots. And this, again, from Quincy's show. Search it on YouTube. Quincy has his own YouTube show. What do we need to know about the Patriots coming up, Quincy?
Jack Jones is a player that I don't think many people have heard of because he's a 4th-round rookie. And when you hear 4th-round rookie, oh, my goodness, 4th round, and Kate York, Perrion Winfrey, why would I care about a 4th-round rookie? Well, he has a 90 PFF grade, and he is a former 5-star recruit that went to USC. I think he was top 2 in his class in his position, had some problems, had to transfer out, went to Arizona State. And he's one of those situations where he's a 1st-round talent that went in the 4th round, and he's been playing like he has a pick 6. And he is a route hopper. Think Trayvon Diggs when you think of Jack Jones. He's somebody to watch. If they bait Jacoby Brissett into a mistake, it will be with Jack Jones. So keep an eye on him. He's a good player. He pops on tape, very athletic, incredible body control. He's going to be somebody to watch, especially if they match him up against Amari Cooper. There's going to be an opportunity to either get him on a fake or he's going to get us. But something's going to happen. Something's got to shake.
All right, keys to this one. What do the Browns need to do to come away with it? Well, let's start. We'll do keys, but is this a must-win game for the Browns?
I think it's as close as a must-win game you can get in the first half of the season, if not just for the morale of the locker room and the fan base. You can technically come back from a loss here, but it's going to be very hard mentally to come back from it.
What about keys? What do they need to do? What do they need to do? What do they need to avoid to do in order to get a win?
But they need to tackle. That's paramount, right? And tackling is one. But also be in position to take advantage of these turnovers. This Browns team has not gotten very many turnovers, right? And you can be a bad defense, but if you can get a couple turnovers, it's going to be all right, right? That's what they need to be able to do. Get turnovers. I understand this defense kind of stinks right now. It is what it is. I'm not expecting great things, but I can expect a couple of great plays, right? And I want that out of your playmakers. Myles Garrett got to get something going. We got to get the ball back to the offensive side of the ball. And in the offense, got to keep playing their game. Just do what you do. You've been doing it well for 5 weeks. I don't believe this is a fluke anymore. I believe this is just what the offense is. Play that ball control. And if you can get the Browns up, first team to go up by 10, it's going to be hard to climb back for it, the way both these teams win. So if you can get a turnover and get points, that's everything. You need to get up double digits. If you get up 2 scores, you're in control of this game and you're playing your football game and you're going to force the other team to do what they don't want to do. Now, the Browns are more fortunate if they fall down 10. They have a better passing attack. They can come back from that. Patriots, on the other hand, they fall down 10. I don't know what they can do because it's going to be it's not been a great situation offensively for them all year.
Quincy Carrier, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Great stuff, Quincy. Thanks very much.
See ya, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, Quincy Carrier. Make sure you watch him. Search him on YouTube. Has his own YouTube show. It's a good one, too. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Jackson McCurry on the other side of the break. We continue talking Browns. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns. Jacoby Brissett talked about what he needs to do to clean up his play late in the fourth quarter.
I was talking about this to A-Walk. It just hasn't bounced our way yet. Obviously, just the interception that had nothing to do with the defense. It had something to do with me. Just focusing in on those. That's all it really is. It's just focus and concentration and I think doing that helps the outcome of games.
Yeah, but I was asking, how do you not be hard? You just said it was on you. How do you not be hard on yourself?
That's not being hard on myself. That's just facts. I mean, that's obvious that I threw the ball.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm asking. You blame yourself. How do you not that carry over in the next?
Oh, it's over now. The game's over. I can't go back and do anything about that. So I've moved past that a long time ago. Excited for this opportunity and this next one we got.
And with that, let's welcome in Jackson McCurry, co-host of the Dawgland and the Top Dogs podcast. Jackson, if you take away, it's probably 4 plays. Jacoby Brissett has played really well. A couple of them, all interceptions aren't created equal. 2 of those interceptions, you understand him trying to force it in. He's trying to get into field goal range to kick a game-winning. The one in the end zone last week, that's completely different. That's just a bad play.
Yeah, I was actually in the stadium on Sunday, and I was up in the upper level, so I'm watching Brissett, and he's running, and I think he's going to walk in for a touchdown, and then all of a sudden you see him throw it to Cooper, or he's trying to make a play to Cooper, and then obviously he doesn't see the linebacker. If he would have kept running, he probably would have at least got the first down. So, yeah, Brissett's trying to – the first couple interceptions, he's trying to get closer into field goal range. This one, it was just a poor decision by him. He could have either ran it in for a touchdown or just got the first down. But I think he saw Cooper open, but just didn't see the linebacker. So just better decision-making for him late in the game. And we could be looking at him in a totally different light, maybe even as a dark horse MVP candidate, just the way he's played and he's elevated the Browns offense so far this season.
Yeah, I would, if you would have told me he was going to play like he has played, I would have said the Browns are going to be 4-1, 5-0, which is, if the defense plays well, that's probably where they are.
Yeah, definitely. I think coming into the season, everybody thought that the Browns would rely more on the defense. And then here, the offense is one of the 10 best in the league, and the defense has taken a major dip from where they finished off last year. They're, I think, 30th in efficiency according to ESPN. But, yeah, if the defense would just play a little better, the Browns very well could be 4-1, like you said, or 5-0. I mean, this is a good football team. The defense can clean up some of their mistakes that they've made. The Browns aren't 2-3. They're above 500. They could be even undefeated at this point.
All right, so only 3 tight ends rank top 5 in route share and target share in the NFL. Number 1 is Mark Andrews, first and first. Number 2 is Travis Kelce, second and fourth. And number 3 is David Njoku, third and fifth. Njoku, 70 yards receiving in 3 straight games. Only 4 other tight ends have accomplished that feat over the past 3 years. Kelce, Andrews, Waller, and Kittle, recognized basically as the top 4. The other thing David Njoku has done is he's blocking really well in a high-powered run game. Because he's not been, the flashy receiver, people aren't appreciating. He's playing as well as, basically any tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're mentioned alongside Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, that's great company. And, you now see why the Browns paid David Njoku like they did. They believed in him. They believed in his talent, and they knew he would finally put it all together. The blocking aspect, he has made so many strides since Bill Callahan and, Kevin Stefanski came in a couple years back. He wasn't a great blocker his first couple years in the league, but he's made tremendous strides in that category. And now he's starting to put it all together in the receiving game. He's on pace for nearly 1,000 yards and 80-plus catches. This is why they paid him the big bucks. They thought he would be a top 5 level tight end. And so far through the first 5 games, he's been everything and more to this Browns offense.
All right, before we take a quick break, this is from Dog Pound Daily. 3 Browns who need less playing time on defense in Week 6. Number 3, they're actually going to go with 2 of them, Jordan Elliott, Tommy Togiai, defensive tackles. Number 2, Grant Delpit, safety. And number 1, linebacker Jacob Phillips. And, the tackles and the middle linebacker have been an issue, and it's been magnified since Anthony Walker has been out of there.
Yeah, definitely. I think people hoped that Jacob Phillips would step in and be the linebacker that's been hyped about him since he's been drafted a couple years back, but he has just not performed well. The communication issues, he is to blame because he was one of the signal callers along with Anthony Walker. Like Quincy had said earlier, Deion Jones isn't going to be able to come in and make a major impact right away if he is the Mike linebacker because he's got to get the communication down. So unfortunately, Phillips is still going to be in there, I would say, for at least the next couple weeks until Jones gets acclimated with his teammates, with, the play calling and everything, and be able to take the lead in that department. But, Phillips made some plays in the Pittsburgh game, but the last couple weeks he has just not performed well. And that doesn't bode well. When you look at Andrew Berry's draft picks, Phillips was one that a lot of people banked on, and he just has not performed well so far.
Jackson McCurry and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll turn our attention a little bit more towards the Patriots game. We'll also look at the Browns' offense, where they rank. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jackson McCurry, co-host of the Dawgland and also the Top Dogs podcast. All right, Amari Cooper talked about what the Browns need to do to get things rolling.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. You got to play 60 minutes, especially in this league. You can look around the league like the Raiders. They were just up like 17-0. It's not really how you. That's why they say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But, the easiest way to answer that question is obviously practice, you practice in phases, you practice the 2-minute drill, you practice third down, you practice red zone. So, I would just say we have to be more attentive when we're in that period of practice, the last 2 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever.
And Jackson, the way they have finished games is the reason they've lost 3 of those games.
Yeah, Cooper said it best. It's not about how you start, it's how you finish. This past Sunday, they jump out to a 14-0 lead on the Chargers, and lo and behold, it wasn't a short time later the Chargers were taking the lead. So they have to play all 60 minutes. The Jets game is prime example. You go up 2 scores with 2 minutes to go, and you somehow lose that game. It was crazy. And you got to you have to play all 60 minutes. I mean, this is the NFL. There's no easy wins. There's no cakewalks. You have to give full maximum effort until the clock is double zeros. And even then, we seen it with the Dwayne Rudd incident 20 years ago. It ain't over until the whistle blows. So Cooper's right. I mean, and Cooper's one of the soft-spoken guys. He's like another Nick Chubb. But when he's saying things like that, I think it's a wake-up call to the rest of the locker room that they have to give it full effort 60 minutes every single Sunday.
All right, let's take a look. Top 10 offenses right now. This is from the 33rdteam.com. That is a group of former NFL front office types. So they go Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles, 1, 2, and 3. Lions, Chargers, Ravens, 4, 5, and 6. The Browns check in at number 8 as the offense right now ahead of the Saints and Vikings. And keep in mind, that's with a backup quarterback. That goes to show you how good this run game has been.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this running game is almost at 1,000 yards. You mentioned with Brissett at quarterback, I think a lot of people didn't expect the offense to be as good. If he doesn't have those late fourth quarter interceptions, who's to say the offense isn't higher than 8th right now? I mean, if the Browns squeak out a couple more of these wins and are 4-1 or 5-0 like we had suggested, who's to say this Browns team isn't a top 5 offense? They're already 6th in scoring. Like I mentioned, they're number 1 in rushing. They're 24th in passing, but they're not turning the ball over as much, and they're putting points on the board. And it's amazing. I think a lot of us thought the defense was going to carry this team, but the offense has carried the team so far through 5 games.
This is from John Breach. Week 6 picks. John is from CBSSports.com. He picks the Patriots to win at 22-20 over the Browns. Think the Patriots are going to go all in to stop the run. They're not going to let Cleveland's best offensive player, Nick Chubb, beat them, which means if the Browns are going to win, Brissett's going to have to dice up the Patriots' defense. Bill Belichick is usually pretty good at taking away a team's best option, and that is going to be Nick Chubb. So it'll be interesting to see if the Patriots are able to slow Nick Chubb down.
Yeah, especially because this run defense last 3 weeks, the Patriots, they've given up 188, 199. They only gave up 101 last week to Detroit. But if they can find a way to slow Nick Chubb down, I think the Patriots have a definite good shot to win this game. But it's up to the Browns on the same end if they need to stop Ramondre Stevenson. He rushed for 161 last week. He gashed the Browns last year in that 45-7 blowout. And I wouldn't be shocked if he runs. I'm already penciling him in for at least 125, just because the way the Browns' run defense has been the last few weeks against Atlanta and the Chargers. That's going to be the key, is whichever team can stop the opposing team's running attack, I think they ultimately win this game.
Yeah, the other thing is the Browns just have not been physical defensively against the run game. It's, they've been getting beat up front defensively.
Yeah, it's pretty much what the Browns do offensively. Other teams have been doing that to our defensive line. It all starts up front. The opposing offensive lines have just been bullying our defensive front, especially the interior, the defensive tackle position, which you and I, Dave, have talked numerous times, has just not been good. It was a position they didn't really address. They brought in Taven Bryan, and he's been solid, but Jordan Elliott's regressed. Tommy Togiai hasn't shown much. Perrion Winfrey's shown some flashes. You hope Tyler Davison comes in and can give you something as an upgrade to the D tackle room, but they're just getting bullied there. And Clowney and Miles can only do so much, and the depth behind them is a lot of young, unproven talent. So, they need to be more physical up front. I don't know if that means, bringing in JOK on a blitz, John Johnson or Delpit on a blitz, anything that can get this defense started. It all starts up front. If they're getting bullied on the line of scrimmage, it's not going to bode well, especially this Sunday against New England.
Yeah, and just a gut feeling. How do you think this thing plays out?
I think it's going to be a close one. The Patriots have a good defense, but they don't have the great defenses that Belichick has had over the years. Nick Chubb is on another level right now. I mean, the one thing not being discussed enough, he's on pace for 2,000 yards. No Browns running back has ever came close to 2,000 yards. I think Jim Brown had 1,700. It's going to be tough to stop him. The last time Chubb played the Patriots, he ran for 131 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. The Browns ended up losing that game, but I just think if they can't slow 24 down, I think the Browns find a way to win despite the defensive woes. I would go with that other prediction that the CBS writer had. I would say it's going to be a close game. I'll say Browns 24, Patriots 21.
I'm thinking it's probably going to be in that neighborhood. And again, maybe I'm being overly optimistic that the defense can figure out how to stop the run, but eventually this defense has to start playing at least close to where the talent level is, and right now they're not.
Right. I mean, the next few weeks get really tough. The Patriots are still a tough team, even though Bailey Zappe's at quarterback. You got Baltimore next week, and then Halloween night, prime time against Cincinnati. And then after the bye week, they got Miami. There's 4 tough teams right there. So the Browns, especially defensively, have to step up, have to get more physical, because this is the tough stretch of the season. This is what's going to make or break this football team.
Jackson McCurry, as always, thanks for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Jackson McCurry, make sure you catch him, co-host of the Dawgland and the Top Dogs podcast. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. See you back here tomorrow at 4. Remember, call the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Tell us what you think is going to happen in that Browns-Patriots game. We'll play your predictions tomorrow on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4.